Okay, so I'm live. So anyway, my name is Cody Engdahl, Cody C. Engdahl, as it's written on my books, and I am an author. I write books about historical fiction. In fact, here are two of the books that I've written so far. Here is Rampage on the River and The Perils of Perryville, which is the sequel to it. So anyway, you may have been a subscriber on my channel from years ago. I will say that YouTube has been somewhat of a well, I've been kind of schizophrenic with YouTube. I've done a lot of different things in the very early days of YouTube, like probably around 2007 and on. I was doing a lot of videos, and this is where you might have gotten on board with me. I was doing a lot. Excuse me. If you're gonna do live video, make sure you got water. But I was doing a lot of videos about guitar equipment because that was what I was into at that time. I still play guitar, and I had a Telecaster that I was constantly making adjustments to. I think that my very first viral video was I had figured out the chord changes to the theme song to Super Jail, which was a cartoon on Adult Swim. And if you're not familiar with that, Adult Swim was kind of like, oh, it was like a program on Nickelodeon for overgrown children like myself who like to watch like adult oriented. I don't mean adult oriented like dirty, like, but like, oh, I got an actual viewer, or maybe that's just me. But like, it's just it wasn't for kids. It was like Metal Colossus and Teen Hunger, Teen Hunger Force Fighter. But anyway, I had a video of me playing and singing the theme song to that show, and like back then, I don't know what it is now, but it was like 36,000 views. I was like, wow. And I built up this channel. This is before I even really got started on Facebook. And so for a while I did that, and then I kind of migrated to Facebook and built up my presence there. I got quite a fehave friends now. I think I got about 3,000 friends. I'm very proud of that. Some of them are repeats, and some of them are people who have passed away, and some of them are, I think, just fake accounts from hackers. But anyway. Then I got involved in television, and I was a reporter for a while, and I stopped doing the videos that had gotten me started on YouTube, and so I started using it as kind of a dumping ground for news stories. In fact, I had built a demo reel on this platform, and they're still up there. In fact, all these videos are still up, except for a few I've taken down, just in case, like job hunting, anything. I mean, there's nothing I've done that I'm ashamed of, but you want to present yourself, and some things are better than others for that. But nothing too bad. It's mostly me singing poorly, bad, out of key, playing my guitar. And I got into fiddle playing, and I was using YouTube as, once again, kind of as just a storage space to put my a lot of the videos of me playing fiddle, but either by myself or with my band, the Englewood Old Time String Band. So now what I'm involved with mostly is I write books. I write historical fiction, and like I said, I write about the American Civil War. These are two of the books that I wrote. These are Laura's copies, actually. And I am studying social media marketing, and and learning how to, using myself as a test case, how to use social media to sell my books and to promote myself. My ultimate goal here is to build a readership, so that as I write novels, because no matter what I do, even if I have to do something else to make money to pay my bills, I am going to write books for the rest of my life. I'm writing the third book of this trilogy right now. So I decided that what I would do, the important thing right now is, would I like to make $1 million off of the first book I wrote? Of course, who wouldn't? But to think about, when you really have like a dream and you say, I'm going to go for this dream, I'm going to make this happen, you need to think about stepping stones and practical ways of getting there. And so I feel like I'm looking at the big picture, I'm looking downrange, and what I want is to be a successful author that, all I want is financial security. I don't care about being rich, but I want to get to a place where people know who I am, that there are that have a readership, and I guess that's what I'm going with is that my goal is to build a readership, a large one, so that as I go on and write more books, that I have people who love them and can't wait for the next one and want to pre-sales, which is something I'm gonna be doing with the third book. So anyway, all that to say is that what I'm working on right now mostly is promoting myself through social media, so that I can be successful at selling the books that I write. And so this channel here is I've been they've been saying, like, you need to really work on your YouTube channel, and here is why. When you post things on Facebook, and Facebook is trying to get into that trying to get a bit of that market that YouTube has. But the problem is that when you do this, and I've done a lot of live videos on Facebook. When you do a live video on Facebook, that video is going to live for maybe 24 hours, and then nobody's going to see it unless they go digging into your profile. So you put a lot of effort into that, and you might get some immediate satisfaction. And I do. I'll shoot a video, a live video. Mostly it's cooking. Cooking seems to be very popular. I'll shoot a live video on Facebook, and I'll get 100, 150, maybe 200 views. But then after a couple days, in the limited audience I have, those views start going away, or they don't go away, but you don't get any more, and it's just buried, and no one sees it anymore. So the thing is with YouTube, from what I am hearing, I've been listening to a podcast called The Social Media Marketing. If you're not listening to it, I highly suggest it. What I'm hearing on that podcast is that YouTube is really a better place for long format video and building an audience, because whereas on Facebook, my audiences are only the people who have friended me, and I'm only allowed 5,000, and I'm already up to 3,000 now. So once I hit 5, that's it. I can't get any bigger. YouTube's unlimited, and I can have as many followers. Oh, by the way, so hey, if you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, or as a lot of the YouTubers say, smash that bell for notifications. So anyway, you can build a bigger audience, and I've seen people do it. I listen to a lot of YouTubers, and I know people, a lot of them are in the comic book world, where they use YouTube to talk to their audience, to give updates, to kind of entertain, and constantly pushing people into supporting their book. Now, those are usually on Indiegogo, and that's a different sales model than I'm using. Mine is really easy. There's a couple ways you can buy my books if you're interested. And I'm not a hard sale person, by the way. I'm a soft sell. If you're interested, if you're not interested, don't do it. But you can buy my books on Amazon. Links in the description. Or you can. There's a few places around town. I also carry a stock of them. I sell them myself. So if you're in the Nashville area, I can meet with you, and if you want me to sign it. Or I also mail them. I sell them for about the same amount of money, which is like $12 plus. Oh, wow, there's a hummingbird. Sorry, I get distracted. But there's a hummingbird drinking out of Laura's hummingbird feeder. We call them hummingbirds because it's cuter to call them that. By the way, I'm at my girlfriend's house. And sorry for the bad lighting. I don't really have a lighting kit here. But this is a rudimentary kind of a practice stream. So it's going to be very rudimentary. I want to learn how to be able to share my screen and to add, so I can show you things. I do a I do a PowerPoint. Well, it's actually not. It's on Mac, so it's a different keynote, but which is basically PowerPoint for Mac, about the Second Michigan. I think that would be really interesting to share with you. But right now, I'm just doing a very rudimentary, knowing that I probably won't get any views on this, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm practicing. So here's what I'm going to do with this channel. I'm still going to use it to store things like, like recordings of me playing the fiddle and things like that. I am going to start building this channel and based on and I thought, okay, I gotta come up with, it can't just be big commercials about please buy my book. It's got to have some kind of value. And I've also been told that you want to have sort of a focus, and if you go too wide, you're going to lose people, because some people are tuning in for one specific thing, and if that's not what you're doing anymore, they're not interested. For example, many of you might have subscribed. I think I have 100 subscribers, and many of you may have subscribed because of the guitar videos I used to do, and they were. Sorry, I was experimenting with something. They were guitar videos based on like demonstrations. I'm not doing that much anymore. I still play guitar, but I'm just not demoing gear. There might have been people who subscribed because they liked the news stories I was putting out there. Or you might be a new person who likes the when I play fiddle. They say, well, maybe build several channels. I don't believe in doing that. I think of keeping things simple. So at the risk of breaking a cardinal rule here about focus, this is what we're going to do with this channel, okay? I think what this channel is mostly going to be about is my journey in book marketing. I think plenty of you out there are authors, maybe comic book writers or artists, or you do something else, like you're a band, you're an artist, you curate, you paint, whatever it is, or however you're promoting yourself. We're going to talk about self-promotion, book marketing. We will also talk about, this is where I'll get off the path a little bit. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about history. I will talk about what I'm working on currently. We'll also do, this is where we're getting further and further from the center here. I will do some cooking videos. I love to cook. I like to cook on live. I do it on Facebook. People really like it. I get people say, hey, do some more of those cooking videos. Really like those. And I also put up some videos of me in my band playing fiddle music. I don't do live music because the processing speed isn't fast enough. And so what happens is, especially with the fiddle, it's such a high-pitched instrument that it gets all kind of warped, and it just doesn't sound, and it makes it sound like I'm a worse player than I am. So anyway, let's get to it. My goal is to write books, like I said, and to sell them. And that's what we're going to do here, is talk about some of the things I go about doing. So anyway, I went on what I call a guerrilla book tour. And the reason why I call it a guerrilla book tour is, there are established authors writing for big publishers that go on a book tour that gets booked. They got an agent. They go to multiple cities, and they have appearances at like Barnes and Nobles and all these things like that, where they go and they do an author talk and take questions, and then they sit at a table and there's a line of people and they sign books. And I've done that a little bit. I've done author talks at Sons of Confederate Veterans and Sons of Union Veterans. If you didn't know, I'm currently writing books about the American Civil War. I'm not going to always write about the American Civil War. What I am is a historical novelist. So I write historical fiction. I write novels that take place in history, where the history is all real and true in my books, but I write a fictional story that fits into that. So the real history is like the canvas, and then I paint my painting of my story on top of it. Like, for example, this book is called Rampage in the River, the Battle for Island Number 10. Island Number 10 is a real battle. The Michigan 2nd is a real unit. There are many historical figures in this book that are real. The battles and those historical figures are all real, and those things that I talk about happened exactly how I described them in my novel. However, I have fictional characters that have their own story that happens along the way as well. So anyway, I'm not with a big publisher. I'm a independent author, and to tell you the truth, I truly believe this. And if you are wondering yourself whether you should go independent or go with a big publisher, that's a tough decision, and it's something that I thought about myself, and I talked to my girlfriend about it. And I came to this conclusion after reading a lot of articles and reading and listening to a lot of other people's experiences. 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you wanted to get an agent and you wanted to get into a big publishing house. I don't think that's true so much anymore, because I know that people have gone that route and they still don't do much better than the independents do. Being an author, and this was a misconception I had early on, is that, a lot of people think you write a book and then you're a millionaire. But being an author, a successful author, is like being a rock star. So, for example, you can go out there and get yourself a Stratocaster and learn how to play exactly the way Jimi Hendrix could play. You could be an excellent guitar player, better than most of the hacks out there who are millionaires playing music. But the best you can do is teach lessons at Guitar Center, and every once in a while make $50 here or there doing gigs. It's a tough life. Some people win the lottery, and they may have less skill than you do, and yet somehow they find a way to make a big living doing it. I think being an author is the same way. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. In fact, it might even be easier. But what happens to a lot of people who do get signed to a publisher is that the publisher may give them an advance. Now, that advance is money that advance is taken out of your royalties. So let's say they give you a $5,000 advance for your book, right? $5,000. I mean, if you think about it, that is a month, possibly 2 months worth of salary. If your book doesn't make more than that, and how long does it take you to write a book? This book took me 9 months. This one took me, I think, 10 months. And the book I'm writing now is probably going to take me even longer. So now you get distribution, and you'll get some marketing, but even those people that go with the big publishing houses have to push the books themselves. And the worst thing is that these publishing houses own the rights to your book. So if they decide that it's no longer financially advantageous to them to keep printing your book, they'll put it away. They'll shelve it. But they own the rights, not you. So now that your publisher is not printing your book, it's not like you can take it somewhere else. You might be able to get a deal like that. But and the other thing is that you own your own IP, intellectual property, right? So no one can tell me what I can do or can't do with my characters, my plots. No one owns them. They can't take my characters and have some other writer write it. I own it. I think now, as an independent, working through like a company like Amazon, which is who I'm with, and then doing your own marketing, And I've so far, because I'm broke. I'll just be honest with you. I'll be more honest with you here than I am on Facebook, because I play a different character on Facebook. Um, I'm struggling. I lost my job 3 years ago. I had a great job, and it wasn't anything that I did. It was just I worked in television. I was on a contract. New management came in, and they cleaned house, and everybody who had a contract that was up, whether didn't matter how good you were, didn't matter how loyal you were, and I was just a small little morning reporter. We like the main anchor. All everybody cleaned out. My job, I was replaced, and I got nothing against the person who replaced me. I was replaced by a young woman half my age who probably made a lot less money than I was making. And did she deserve that job? Was she qualified for it? Sure. I don't know, because I couldn't bear to watch. I stopped watching television as soon as I got out. Not at my expense, though. And the irony is, my understanding, she's already gone. But yeah, I gotta tell you something. Like I never really talk about that publicly, because in the end, first of all, I always said this: there's no, there's no. What do I say? I can't even remember what I say. There's no entitlement in television. You can be the best there is, but when they decide that you're no longer of any use to them, out the door, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no point crying over it. For me, I think even though I'm still struggling, I'm still trying to get back to where I was financially. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I would not go back to my old job if it meant I never wrote these books. And I'm telling you, this is what my success is. And if I die under a bridge somewhere, a homeless man, it won't matter, because I wrote these 2 books, and these books are going to live forever. And I'm writing a third one now. Actually, I got 4 books. And if you're interested, this one gets me in a lot of trouble with The Lost Cause. The American Civil War was about slavery. It's just a real thin book. This was kind of like I wrote this as a practice book almost. I also have a book called, and I sell it for real cheap. It's like $1 on Kindle. And I think if you want a print copy, it's like $4 or $5. I have another book called How to Write, publish, and market your book. It's a route for, if you're going to go my route, if you're going to go independent, it's a good way to go. So if you're going to be an independent author, there's a lot more work in it, because you got to wear a lot of hats. Now, if you're Stephen King, or you're J.K. Rowling, or George Martin, or any of these big name multimillionaire authors, all you got to do is just write your book. Cool. Wouldn't that be great if that's all you had to do? Because you're such a commodity that they put your name on a book, it's going to sell, and they're going to take care of the distribution. They're going to take care of they're going to do the editing for you. You just throw them a turd of a rough draft, and they'll fix it for you. I mean, I don't know if it's that much, but I do a lot of editing, and I'll talk about that in a different video. We'll get into like my editing process. But the big thing is, I also have to do my own marketing, and that is a huge thing. And so, and we'll talk about a lot about this in these live streams. So, and a couple small tenets I want to get across right away is, and like I said, we'll expound upon these as we do more and more of these live streams. But you want to. The first thing is, and I knew this even before I knew I was losing my job, because I knew things were going too well for me when I was working at the TV station, and I was becoming a local celebrity. I was in the grocery store, and people go, "You're Cody Engdahl, aren't you?" And I realized I was borrowed celebrity. The only reason why people thought I was a celebrity is because somebody was putting me on TV, and I knew that as soon as I left, that would be gone. And so I decided that. No longer, well, it kind of goes both ways, because the TV station gave me celebrity, but then yet I was giving my personality in my persona to the TV station to build their image as well. And so I realized that you have to be a franchise unto yourself, meaning, they cannot resign, and that's what happened. They did not resign my contract when it was up. They were very kind to me. They didn't owe that to me. It was the way it was supposed to go. But when you build up your own brand, no one can fire you from it. No one cannot renew my contract at being Cody Engdahl. No one can take that out. You can't be canceled. You can't, your opinion about something political isn't in fashion right now, and the Twitter crowd descends upon you and gets you fired from your job. No one can fire you when you are the job. And so I knew that very early on, that I am Cody Engdahl, or Cody C. Engdahl, to differentiate myself from Cody L. Engdahl in Texas, or actually Oklahoma, who, by the way, is a good friend of mine. So that's number one. In fact, this channel, like, I listen to, don't get mad at me, because I'm actually, I'll admit it, I don't admit this stuff on Facebook. I am a moderate Democrat, I would say I'm either a moderate Democrat or a liberal conservative. I'm a moderate, or a classical liberal, which means I don't agree with the, your screen. Screen left. I don't agree with I don't know how it works. I don't agree with the hard left. I don't agree with hard right either. I believe in reasonableness and kind of a Goldilocks, it doesn't have to be like this, but there's a place for us all, to be friends in the middle. So I say that because I listen to a guy who's considered to be very right wing, and even though I don't agree with his politics, I love the things he says. Ethan Van Sciver. He's got a channel called Comic Pro Secrets, and he's really funny to listen to. That's why I like to listen to him. And he talks about comic books, and he was canceled. He worked for DC Comics. He was one of those jerks that gets on Twitter and rants and raves about how much he doesn't like liberals. And it got him in trouble, especially, I think, in this time of Trump, where everything's been heightened. Like the left and the right have got further and further apart. The gloves are off. People are just angry. They forget that we're so much alike. But what I'm saying is, Sciver is a name to himself. And he's big enough that he can have a channel. He's got all sorts of official names, because he is Ethan Van Sciver, but his YouTube channel is called Comic Pro Secrets, and his publishing company is called All Caps Comics. And I think it works for him because he's got notoriety. Not for a guy like me, though, because no one knows who I am, unless maybe you watch Channel 4 News from 2011 through August 2017 when I was on the news there. Otherwise, you don't know who I am. So I don't think it's a good idea to come up with some cute, fancy names for your company or whatever. For me, I don't want people, like, for example, I have a band, and I'm not going to change anything because I hope this band stays forever. But it has a name. The name of my band is called the Inglewood Old Time String Band. And that's great. And may that band stay together, because I got great guys. But I realize, and you see this in country music, you see it more in country music and in R&B and pop music, is that the bands, I'm a rock and roll, I love rock and roll, whether it be heavy metal, punk rock, or just regular rock. We have names of bands like classic rock, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, right? But when you look at country music, you don't see a lot of bands. There are some, but you see Keith Urban. I don't even know who's popular anymore. Toby McGuire. You will have ones like the Dixie Chicks, who are now changing their name because now it's not politically correct to have the word Dixie in your name. But the reason why is because when you create a band and there are members in that band, well, now you have some, like for example, now this will never happen to me because my guys they're just not this way. But instead of being Cody Angdahl and Friends, it's the Inglewood Old Time String Band. Now, my teacher's in that band, David Johnson, who's an amazing, amazing fiddle talent. Just to put that in perspective, David played for, and I don't know if he might get mad if I say this aloud. He just doesn't talk about it. He doesn't hide it. But David played for, oh God, I'm just really bad at like I know things and then all of a sudden like the name vanishes when I need it. For a country western Hall of Fame legend for 27 years. Oh God, I can't think of it all of a sudden. Anyway, David and Paul and Don, they're a fiddle, banjo, and guitar player. They could say, you know what, we really don't think that you're contributing enough to the band. We think the band would be better. I started the band, but they could say, we think the band would be better without you. And they could take the band. And, like Glenn Danzig was a founding member of Misfits, and he left, and they found another singer, and that was a lawsuit. Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath started with Ozzy. He quit the band, came back, then they kicked him out and replaced him with Ronnie James Dio. And, you can do that. But see, Ozzy, and I love Ozzy, I love Black Sabbath. I think I prefer Ozzy with Black Sabbath as opposed to Sabbath with someone else or Ozzy by himself. Even years later, 13, it came out in 2013, I think, where they got back together, still a great album. And that, to me, the old English men, in their 70s making a metal album is better than anything Ozzy did by himself, in my opinion, or anything Black Sabbath did without him. But that's what I'm saying is, for example, what if Ethan Van Sciver turns his publishing company into a big deal and then gets fired from the board of directors? Leo Fender made Fender guitars. I don't know the story very well, but I know the gist of it is that at some point, like in the late 60s or the 70s, Leo Fender got ill and sold off his share, sold off the company. And it was bought by CBS, I believe. I know it was owned by CBS for a while, Columbia Broadcast System. He got back into the game. He no longer owned Fender guitars. It's got literally his name on it, but he's still Leo Fender. And no one could stop him from being Leo Fender. So he went, I think during his non-compete, he went to work for Music Man, and he designed the Stingray bass and some iconic guitars over there. Music Man is a weird company. Not to get too far off topic here, but then later on, Leo got back in touch with his old friend George Fullerton, and they started G&L Guitars, George and Leo Guitars, and they basically make Fenders. They make a guitar that looks very much like a Telecaster, and they make one that looks very much like a Stratocaster, and several of the other of his designs. They made the headstocks different, and just enough things that are different that they can't be sued. But he's able to do that because no one can stop him from being Leo Fender. He passed away, by the way. He's been dead for a long time now. So that's one thing. Whatever it is that you're doing, is that try to keep the brand as close to you as possible. You are the brand. You are the brand, because no one can fire you for being you. No one cannot renew your contract. The only way that your contract is not renewed is that you die. Or you're just incapacitated to the point where you can no longer do whatever it is you do. If you're a singer, you are designing clothes. I mean, think about like labels like Ralph Lauren or Versace or what's her name, Donna Karan. They can't be fired from their own names. That's who they are. So I think that's an important thing. And I'll have more things on that, but I want to talk about what I call Guerrilla book marketing. So I put that in the title, and we've been talking for 35 minutes. I haven't gotten to it. I am at a ground level marketing, and I decided that I'm thinking the big game. So I know that book one is not going to make me a millionaire, and so the goal. I could make that the goal, and that would maybe change how I'm doing some things. But when you look at goals, not all goals are created equal. So you might, so you think, maybe write down some goals, and then you think about what makes the most sense and what is going to get me to my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is, like I said, I want to die a notable author. I want a legacy left behind me that, just like the author that I have modeled myself after, Alexander Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. I want that same thing. I want people hundreds of years after my death making movies or whatever it is they do, based off of my novels. I want people still reading me. So how do you do that? You build a readership, and you get out and you try to sell as many books as possible. You also get a financial reward for that. But the real goal is that, and I think I'm Rampage on the River. I'm just a rough estimate, and it's been a while since I actually really looked at it. Probably sold about 500 copies of this so far. Did that make me a lot of money? No. I can't even think of how much, because it depends on how you buy it is how much I make. But the goal is that I've had enough people buy this, that they want to buy this, which is a sequel. And there's a whole other thing about writing sequels, by the way, that I think needs to be spoken about. But so getting out and getting my name out there and getting people aware of me, especially because right now I can't afford to pay for advertising. And that's going to be a whole new thing that we will get in together once I finally get some financial security, where I can say, okay, I'm going to invest some money in doing some online advertisement. I'll probably first buy through ads through Amazon, because it seems to make the most sense for selling books. So I do. So I'm a fiddle player, if you didn't know that already, and I play. And it's all worked out really well. I play a lot of 19th century music. I play what they call old time music, which is kind of like that Appalachian, contra dance, which also known as square dancing style of music. And a lot of the tunes I play are Civil War tunes. So it goes great. So I go to, I call it busking for books, where I'll go somewhere and I will set up my little table, and I'll have my books out there. And I got a little sign that says Civil War books, $12 a piece. And I will play my fiddle and put up a tip jar. And I'll tell you this, I usually make more money off the tip jar than selling books. But people, it's different. They're like, wow, that guy's playing the fiddle. Oh, wow, he writes about the Civil War. It goes so well together. People like it, and it gives me a certain kind of authenticity. What is that for you? I don't know. You look at the things that you got, the assets that you have, your talents, your gifts, and how can you make that, use that to help market yourself? Because I guess that's what I'm saying, is that right now, yes, I want to sell books, but the real goal right now is selling myself so that you want to buy my books. See what I'm saying? So if you can find whatever the playing the fiddle is for you, and then work it to your advantage. So any chance I get to find somewhere, like for example, my band, we can play anything. I mean, we've played on stage with an audience. We've played contra dances, but mostly what we do are like farmers markets, or there's several farms that like next Friday, a week from today. And if you're in the Nashville area, I hope you come out. We're going to be at Shade Tree Farm, and they're having an ice cream social where you can come in with your family and have ice cream, and it's agritainment, they call it. And they usually pay us. Now, some of the ones, it's just tip jar. But they always, when I do these gigs, they let me bring my books, and I set them out there, and I'll be lucky if I sell one. Sometimes I sell a couple. But every book sale right now in this infancy of my, and I've been, I started writing in 2018. 2018 is when I started. I started writing. I was writing short stories all through like junior high school, college. I wrote 5 or 6 chapters of a novel I never finished back in the 90s. So, this isn't anything new. It's just that when I finally left Channel 4 and was searching in my soul of like, this is a time where I can really dig in and say, what do I really want to do? I'll tell you this, it wasn't being a reporter on TV. That was just like, that kind of fell into my lap and like, oh, that sounds cool, do that. But I was living someone else's dream. Now I'm living my own. And I am too. I'm living the best years of my life. Like I said, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm struggling, but there's purity in struggling. And so I with the confidence in myself, that I'm going to make it work. Anyway, I wouldn't call it a job. It was more like a gig. I got hired by a research company called RTI, and we do data collection for the federal government. Now, I won't get much more into it. If you really want to know, you can ask me. But it's contract work, and when the work's done, the work's done. And I got done with it. The work causes me to be out in the field collecting data, and I'm kind of like the Middle Tennessee guy. But I finished up all the work in Middle Tennessee, and there won't be any more work until March. So I felt like, I finally got something to bring some money in. Bottom fell out. But they said, look, we still are wrapping up in East Tennessee, and we have some areas that we need someone to get someone out. Will you are willing to travel? I said, absolutely. And it was a great deal because I get great mileage. I get like 55 cents a mile, which is really adds up fast. They put me up in a hotel. They gave me a per diem to buy food, which I couldn't eat that much anyway. So I made money on that. I got a hybrid car now, so I make money on the mileage. I make money on the per diem, and I get paid, for the time I spend out there. And I said, okay, well, here is an opportunity because I've been all over Tennessee. This was the Tri-City area was the last place for me that I had not seen. Covering news in Middle Tennessee. I've been all over Middle Tennessee, from southern Kentucky to northern Alabama, all up in the middle part. I've been to Shiloh in that area in the southwestern corner of Tennessee. Been to Memphis. I've been to Tiptonville and Union City over there in the northwestern part. I've been to Chattanooga, Knoxville. I had never been to that upper northeast corner of Tennessee until now. So I was like, okay, this is great. So I brought my fiddle and I brought a box of my books, and and I said, first of all, I'm being paid to be here, so I'm putting all my effort into, because I want this company RTI to love me and want to keep me around and give me more work and maybe even more opportunities along the way. So there was 3 segments. We call them segments. These are areas that have to go and kind of map out and record addresses. The first one was the hardest one. I was staying in Johnson City, but I still had to drive an hour and a half to that segment, which was in Trade, Tennessee. And Trade, Tennessee is like right on the North Carolina line. In fact, it's like in a part of Tennessee that kind of juts out into North Carolina. It was like an hour and a half drive just from my hotel. out to trade, and I had to go 2 days in a row because it was such a big and very mountainous area, so it was very hard to do. So I did that, get back exhausted. I normally don't drink on school nights, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy a couple whiskeys and have, since I got a per diem to pay for food, I have something nice every night. I had a different nationality of food every night. So I had Indian the first night, Mexican the next night. What else did I have? I had Vietnamese, I had Greek, and then I went back to the Indian place because it was the best and it was best service. So I spent 2 days out in trade. Then the next day I went out to on the third day I was there. I went to Kingsport, but it was actually Bluntville, which is Bluntville is kind of like a suburb of Kingsport. Went there, and I got back still tired. And I was feeling kind of bad. Oh, and I was practicing every day, but just, in my hotel room with the mute on. In mute, it's not like a button like on your phone, but you put this little stopper on your bridge and it still plays, but it's just not as loud. So you can hear it, but you're not, broadcasting it to all the rooms around you. So this is kind of how I work. You do the hard work first, and then and so I knew working in trade was going to be the hardest. I got that done first, then Kingsport, then the last segment on the last day I was there was right there in Johnson City, and it was literally a mile. The segment started about a mile from where I was staying, so I got done early. I said, okay, so this is it. This is my opportunity. I drove around Johnson City. It didn't really seem like there was a good place for it. So I know that Bristol is considered the birthplace of country music, even though Nashville is considered the capital of modern country music. Bristol has its own entertainment district. If you're familiar with Nashville, Nashville's got the lower Broadway where all the honky tonks are. It's full of tourists. No one from Nashville's actually down there unless they're working. So Bristol's got an entertainment section too. It's not as crazy, but there's some restaurants, bars. And so I got down there about 4:00 in the afternoon, and I was able to park my C-Max, my Ford C-Max, right there on the sidewalk, and found a nice little spot that was between a really cool place. It was like an art place where you can come in and make your own, live, laugh, and love style signs, and a bar. And there was a little space in between. So I parked my car. I was right there, got out, got my little stool, set up my books on there. I didn't even get my fiddle out. And this boy, and I wish I could, because I see Ethan do this where he's able to pull things up. I want to show you a picture of this boy. He's he's Rampage on the River. What's that about? And I was telling him, and he's like, I want to buy your book, Mom. And he called his mom over, and she was like, she's like, how much are they? I'm like, they're 12. And she's like, I got $9. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Because this 13-year-old kid, I hope he loves it. And I hope he loves it so much that he gets this for Christmas. And that, I've written my 20th book, and he's like, yeah, I was reading Engdahl since when I was 13. So right away I make a book sale, and who knows, every time you sell a book, maybe that kid reads it and lends it to someone else. And I got something to say about people lending books too that I learned from Neil Gaiman. Someone else, some of my favorite authors, I got their book from the library or found it somewhere, read it, loved it, and then started buying their books when they came out, like Ben Kane is a good example of that. And so right there, I got a reader. I set up, I start playing. This little man comes up to me and he gives me $5. He's like, it's my wife's birthday. I wish I could pull up these pictures. I don't know how to do it. I got to learn how to do this. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he goes, "Can you play Happy Birthday?" I go, "I can try." I learned this from Professor Jeffrey Wood, Austin P University, back when I was going there studying school music theory. He said, when someone asks you if you can do a job, you say yes, and you figure out how to do it. And I'm not really good at playing Happy Birthday, but it's a simple tune. And so, this lady comes up and I play Happy Birthday for her, and she's beside herself, and then, they're like, "Oh, it's so interesting to play. We love how you love your playing." And I go, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're an author." I go, "Yeah." And she's like, I'm telling her about the book. She's like, "I want to buy your book. I want to buy your book." So she bought herself a copy of Rampage on the River for her birthday. I signed it. I never thought people would be interested in me signing, because I don't want to look, I don't know. I feel like I'm almost embarrassed saying, "Do you want me to sign it?" Because who am I? But people are like, "Yeah," because you know what? I might be someone someday, and people say, I got like a vintage Cody Engdahl signature from like back when nobody knew who he was, when he was busking on the street trying to sell books. So uh, then another woman came by, and she's originally from Austria, but she's been living in the United States since like the 70s. And she was enthralled with the music. Once again, the music, they're excited about the music, and then they find out I write books about the Civil War. And she was so excited. She's like, "I'm going to read it tonight." So I sold her a book. So I went to Bristol, and I made. I think, I'm so dumb. I mixed all the money together, and so now I can't separate. I know I netted $33 in book sales. What that is or I grossed $33. Probably that means, I don't know, maybe I made $15 in actual royalties or in profit off of that. And then I made about $20 or $30 in tips. And it was neat, that little fiddle unplugged. People were listening across the street, walked over from across the street, put money in my jar. Was it a big, but I ended up putting $50 in my bank account from that couple hours, right around 7 o'clock, the big PA systems came on for the bars, and it was just, I couldn't compete with it. So it was a good time to leave. And it was just enough time to drive back to Bristol and get dinner and make myself a nice drink. That's what I'd do. I'd get dinner, I'd sit down, then I'd have a couple whiskey. That's what I like to, I like to have like 2 drinks, 2 old fashions. Laura and I, we FaceTimed with each other, or actually I think we used whatever it is on Facebook. We talked. She had a beer because we were usually together on Wednesday nights anyway. And then got done and ate and had a couple glasses of wine. So in the end, did I make a lot of money? No, but I was able to put outside of what I was making with RTI. Of course, I only did this once I was completely done with everything I was going to do with RTI. All I had to do was drive back the next day. But $50 that I didn't have. Some of that money was to pay myself back for, every time I buy a box of books, it's $116 something dollars. And, maybe I'll sell them, maybe I don't. It's a risk every time I buy one. Now I know I've bought and sold enough author copies of my books that I'm in the black now. So when I buy another box, it's bought with basically the profits of the ones I've sold before. But here's the thing about that. I sold 3 books, actually 4, because I don't want to admit this to too many people, but on my first day out there, I got stuck in a ditch, and a guy came up and he used his tractor and pulled my new car out of the ditch. I thought my life was over. And I said, "I want to give you something." He goes, "Oh, no." I go, "No, don't worry. It's not money," because I wouldn't be able to afford that anyway. But I gave him a signed copy of my book as a gift. So 4 books. So now 4 copies of my books exist in that northeastern corner of Tennessee. And maybe I didn't make a lot of money off them, but now physical copies of my book exist there. And maybe those books get lent to somebody. Maybe the people who read them after the initial person reads them decides they love my work and they want more, and they buy, and they're going to buy. I didn't sell any of the Perryville. I only sold Rampage on the River. Maybe they read Rampage on the River, and it's a complete story. It has its own arc, and the arc finishes with satisfaction in the end. But the door is left open so that you want to read the next one. So maybe the people who read this in Bristol are going to buy this off Amazon, and maybe after they read this book, they're going to do they're going to order the pre-sale for Blood for Blood at Nashville. That is the next step. I'm growing, at a good pace. Like I don't want to go too fast, because yes, I want instant success. Yes, I would like to be a millionaire tomorrow, for sure. But learning as I go. So the goal with Rampage on the River was I think this is one of the biggest hurdle would-be authors have. Can you write a novel? There are probably probably less than 1% of novels started are finished in this world. So that big, can you write a decent novel? And that was my goal. I wanted to write a novel, and I wanted it to be good. It need to be the greatest novel in the world, and I think that is that really stymies people, is that because it did mean that everything you write has to be absolutely profound. No, but if you got a good plan, like I'm a plotter, like I plot out my novels, and then so I know what I'm writing to. I was very pleased and surprised, and this was the greatest accomplishment in my life, other than winning Laura's Love, writing this book. So that was the goal with this book. Then I was like, okay, I had to read through it a couple times, in editing, and I got scared. I'm like, because I thought it was really good, and I was like, will I be able to do this again? Can I write another book? Will I, or do I just have one in me? I wrote this book. It turned out to be better. It's a better book. I think this is a fantastic book. They both are. This one's better. I think I'm getting better at it, and also the story's expanding, the characters are expanding, the depth, the world's getting bigger. My world that I'm writing in, the Cody Engdahl version of the Civil War, it's getting bigger and bigger. And so my goal with this was, am I a one-trick pony sitting on my laurels, or can I put out another book? And I got this one done pretty quick, relatively. So now I got 2 books out. So, I got 4, but 2 novels out. So the next thing is, can I finish the trilogy? And it is a trilogy. There will be other books with the characters in it, for sure. But this Second Michigan Cavalry Chronicles is a trilogy, and once the 3rd book is done, I will no longer be writing like serialized books. Basically what we're going to do is, once we're done with the Civil War, the 3rd book will finish my Civil War trilogy. Then the 4th book is going to be a prequel. And and the goal of that book is that I'm going to write a historical romance, because historical romance does better than I want war, and there's still going to be war, and it's going to have to do with the Mexican War. Now, I'm not going to be a historical romance writer per se, but I do know that with women readers, which I was surprised when I wrote Rampage on the River. I wanted to write a book that the 13-year-old version of me would want to read, and I got a lot of women who read my book that love it and could not wait to read the next one. So a lot of my now loyal readers are women. So I think when you pick, people, pick an audience. Don't try to please everybody. Pick your audience, write to that audience, and then what you will find out is that people are more alike than they're different. So even though I wrote for and my books are adults, they're adult books, but I had myself in mind when I was 13, 14 years old. But it's not young adult fiction, if that makes any sense to you. So what I'm trying to say is that pick your audience. Don't try to please everybody. Try to write the book that you would like to read, and you'll find other people like to read it too. And I'll tell you this: I see a lot of people ask this question. I love to write, but I hate reading. I don't want to read. I don't think you're going to be able to write anything anybody wants to read. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't think it works that way. It's like a chef who can't taste anything, who doesn't like to eat food. I don't want to eat that. A musician who doesn't like to listen to music. I don't like bluegrass. I mean, I don't dislike it. I'm not a big fan of bluegrass. A lot of people think what I play is bluegrass. It's not. It's old time. I got nothing against it, but I can only listen to like 3 songs and I'm done. And I was playing bluegrass in Florida, and I realized I was enjoying playing it, but it wasn't what I listened to. Now I'm playing the music I like. I play what I call old time blues and jazz. You can put commas in there or not. So you could say it's 3 genres. I play old time, I play blues, and I play jazz, or old time blues and jazz. So everything from fiddle tunes from the 19th century to ragtime to I like a lot of swing jazz classics from like the 20s and 30s. Anyway, I was going to make a point, and I get so far off tangents. I'll tell you this: I've been talking for an hour, and and like no one may ever see this, but I want to start doing this channel and see if I can, start building an audience, just like readership, and see if I'm able to make things work. So. Oh man, I was building up a big point here, and I think I lost. Oh yeah, so this is what I was getting to. So with the 3rd book, Blood for Blood in Nashville, one goal is to finish the trilogy because I set out it was a trilogy, and once I do that, it'll be like I can write a trilogy. And I like writing trilogies, but there's a danger to them. We'll get into probably another video. But the other thing I want to try is pre-sales. And it's a marketing tool. I think I may have done pre-sales back when I had money that I could afford to buy books and I had a Kindle. That's a whole other thing we'll talk about some other time, Kindles. And there are some of my favorite authors like Bernard Cornwell. I think it's one of the people I model myself after. And Con Eagleton, and it's some of these guys. Like I love their books so much that I want to read them when they come out. And so you can do pre-sales with print or with Kindle. And if you're an author, be on both. Why not have there are people that only read on Kindle, and there's people that only read print. Be available to both of them. And if you can get audio, do that too. That's a whole other story. So I have pre-ordered books, and it's great. And like when the book comes out, it gets delivered to my Kindle. It's ready to go. I cannot wait. Can't wait for it to come out. So my little goal this time with Blood for Blood at Nashville is I'm going to do 2 weeks of pre-order, and I'm going to make sure everything's ready to go so that there's no, because that's the last thing, customer service. That's one thing I hear Ethan Van Sciver talk about all the time is customer service. Like that's the most important thing. So you don't want to let your customers down. So I am going to have everything ready to go. And then I'm going to launch pre-order while we're finishing things up so that when that date comes, bam, people get their books. So we'll see. And this was a goal I had in the very beginning, believe it or not, when I was writing book one, and I said, I want to build the readership up so that by the time book three comes out, I'm making pre-orders. Now, if I get 4 pre-orders, if I get one person pre-order my book, that'll be a victory. So anyway, we've been going for an hour. I won't bore you anymore. I'm going to do more of these. I don't have really a timetable, but if you're enjoying this content, and I'll read your comments. Join the channel, I guess. Subscribe, ring the bell for notification, so you'll know when I go live. We'll do some more talks, and I guess really what this comes down to is that I think, and I'm learning as I go. Even in this hour we spent together, that I'm going to use this channel to talk about book writing, book marketing, those kinds of things. So if you're interested in that, and like for example, I listen to Comic Bro Secrets. He talks about comic books. I would love to do actually just when it's no risk to me, but I would love to do graphic novel version of this. I think that would be great. And if somebody came to me, like it'd have to be an established, company and say we want to license your book out and to do graphic novels, I'd be like, sure. I mean, my goal, being I wrote my books so that you could convert them to Netflix series or Prime, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever you want to do. So with the idea that each book is a season, although Perryville, you could have 2 seasons out of it, and because my books are getting longer now. But seasons, each part of the book now, because I'm like part 1, part 2 of the same book, is like a whole season of Netflix, and then each chapter is like a episode. Now, a showrunner might say, yeah, we think we should actually combine these to make one episode of it. It's fine. But I'm not saying it's my goal to have, because I am a literary person. I am writing books for people to read. It would be great if somebody also decided to do a movie or a series. I would like to see a series, like a streaming series. I think that's the place to go. I think that's where all the good writing is. I'll settle for a movie. but before we even get to that, maybe like I said, go where your readers are. So I write novels. That's the primary form. I put them out on Kindle or print. But I would like to do audiobooks. I would love to be the voice. I think my voice is good enough to do it. I would love graphic novels for the kids, and I would love a Netflix series or a movie. We'll see. So anyway, if you're interested in my work, I'll tell you what. If you're a writer, I got a book. I think I sell it for like $4 or $5 on Amazon about how to write, publish and market your book. Stick with me. I'm still going to put up videos of me playing my fiddle. I'll probably do some cooking videos too. This is just the beginning. Thanks for tuning in. And like I said, subscribe if you want to see more of this. Okay. Yes, I would like to end.